Hey everyone, welcome to the Track Limits podcast presented by Formula Addict. I'm your host Swish with my co-host Mikey.
Hello, hello.
Yep. Doing well?
Oh, amazing.
Oh,
Great to be here.
Great to be here. Lovely. We have an amazing guest for you today. A 26-year-old British racing driver competed in the British GT Championship in 2020. He also started karting at the age of 8, went on to win 5 national championships, and is now part of the Mercedes Esports team. Welcome, James Baldwin.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here. It's really good.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Not nervous? You're not going
just
to knock
spilled
over
my
your coffee?
Yeah,
You're a little bit...
Yeah, but let's not tell anyone about that. But apart from that, doing well.
Well, want to get into Q1 right away. We're going to walk you through Q1, Q2, Q3. To kick off, tell us some of the kind of core accomplishments that you're really proud of. I know obviously I gave a bio there in terms of kind of some of the core stuff that you've done, but like what are some of the kind of intangibles that you're super proud of in your career right now?
I think the main ones would be World's Fastest Gamer was like the big win for me. Winning my first race in British GT in real life. Again, stuff I'd never thought that would happen. And there's other series as well I've won that I'm very proud of, but I think they're probably the main two, to be honest.
Damn. And when you get that distinction, World Fastest Gamer, that is a lot of pressure.
It rolls
as well.
off the tongue nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the name of the competition and the business, if you like.
Yeah.
So to be called that from winning the last time that happened in 2019, yeah, it's a really cool title. It sort of carried me a little bit in my career that, it's quite a in-your-face title. So, yeah, it was career-changing winning that. So,
Can you talk us through a little bit of that journey of like getting invited to participate in that competition? And then how did that, you won £1 million for a real-life seat. Like how did that help your career so far?
Yeah, so it was in the middle of 2019, just before COVID, and they invited 10 of the best sim racers at the time to fly to America, do a 2-week competition in California where they tested you in real cars, on the sim, fitness tests, media tests, and at the end of the 2 weeks, the head judge, Juan Pablo Montoya, announced the winner, and that was me, fortunately.
Amazing.
And the next year, I got to do a season of GT racing, which was worth $1 million in theory, the whole program. Which, as I say, the two biggest things in my career, winning the competition and then going on to do the racing, which I did. Crazy.
Was that a big kind of transition, though, to go from maybe, I know you'd karted, but like to go from like sim racing, focusing on that, to then jumping into a GT car? What was that transition like?
Well, it was weird because obviously I did karting from the age of 8 to the age of 15, not at a particularly high level, never like British level or World Championship level, like the F1 drivers do. It was more like corporate stuff. We didn't have the money to go and do proper stuff. But when I got to 15, 16, we ran out of money. My parents did. By the way, very privileged to be able to do that because some people don't even get the chance to do that. And then, left or stopped racing, went and worked a normal job for like 4 years as a CNC machinist, and then just started gaming casually in the evenings. That's why it's weird. I'd never thought doing that would lead to winning World's Fastest Gamer, racing in British GT, the rest that came with it. I never thought that would happen. So that's the weird thing is I never got into it for that. So
yeah, and like for someone now, let's say getting into sim racing, is there anything advice you give them, even like let's say equipment setup? Like, is it better to invest in a separate pieces of equipment like pedals, or like what's the overall take?
Or gloves?
Or gloves? Rumor has it gloves are like they're on. You can get like a couple of tenths extra.
Yeah,
half second, mate.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I'd say if you're just like wanting to get into it, I wouldn't go hard on hardware. Like I'd just buy a very cheap setup, start to tweak your settings so they feel better, tweak the setup of the car, see if you're enjoying it. I think that's the key thing. And then if you start to be semi-competitive, then start to maybe invest in. I'd say the most important part of the rig is probably a pedal set, just because you can. A corner starts on the brakes, so if you're braking well and consistently, the rest should come a bit easier. So start with a pedal set, and then you can do the wheelbase, the wheel rim. I don't necessarily think it makes you that much quicker, but I think it helps you consistency because you can feel more, and it's more immersive and more enjoyable because it feels more like a racing car. So I think if you enjoy something more, you're better at it. So that's why, like now, when I first started, I started on a very cheap setup, wheel on a desk type thing.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
I think everyone
you
should
slowly
as well.
progress.
I think if you go straight into like a 10 grand rig,
Yeah.
you've missed that progression. So, but now I'm on that sort of setup, And, you know, I'm really grateful for it because I remember what it was like being on a desk back in the day.
You can appreciate it a little bit more as well.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen the progression through the wheels I've been through and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And then when it comes to like an esports competition, I think the 2021 British GT Championship, you took 3 wins in that season. And, you know, specifically when it comes to dominating and doing well, how do you prepare? Like, what does the preparation look like for an esports tournament or championship?
Yeah, I'd say it's very similar, really, the mindset I have for an esports tournament or a real life race, because the skills are so transferable. Like the mindset, the things you think about on a quali lap, sim or real, is the same. The way you think at the race start is exactly the same. The only difference really is that on the sim you don't have to be physically jacked or fit to drive, because there's no G-force or anything like that. The second thing is there's unlimited practice on a sim. So there's undoubtedly there's tips and tricks there to find. It's just hours and hours of trying to find that. That's the key thing, really. Whereas in real life, everyone's in the same boat. You get an hour of practice, 20-minute quali, half an hour race, and that's it. So yeah, it's just more time-consuming preparing for an esports race, because unless you find the tip and trick you're looking for, or the best setup or whatever, you need to keep going and putting the hours in. Like, you know, I try and stop at like 5-6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Any more than that, and I'm like mentally drained and I can't do it anymore properly. But yeah.
And how much of like your performance is contingent on, because like obviously in even real F1, a lot of times there's really good drivers, but maybe they're a little restricted by their car. Versus like with sim racing, I could sometimes see that like there's really good drivers, but they're restricted by the game, and every game might be a little bit different. How restricted do you feel, like in terms of, oh, maybe I'm really good at one game, but then the next year's version comes out and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, it's tricky to be quick on different games because they all feel different. The physics are different. The way you come off the break on one game might be OP on that game, but you go to a different game and it's the wrong way to do it. And I think, to be honest, over the years, I've just started to understand it's just about being open and able to adapt to the situation, and then putting in the hours to perfect that driving style for that game, so it becomes second nature. And when it gets really tricky is when you have like 2 or 3 different competitions on 2 or 3 different games at the same time, because one day you're on R-Factor 2, next day you're on Assetto Corsa. When you switch it up like that, it's tricky to mentally get it right. But yeah, I think if you put the hours in, anyone can really get it, you know?
Yeah, because even in, I think it was 2022, the FIA came out with the Motorsport Esports, and you won gold for Britain.
Yeah.
How are those competitions like helping the broader motorsport landscape, let's say?
I think, yeah, that was.
Do we need more of them?
Yeah, that was basically the Olympics of motorsport, so to speak. But I think the reason brands and anyone really gets into esports is to appeal to a younger audience, right? And I feel like motorsport maybe has had a bit of a problem in the past of not really appealing to the younger audience, because maybe it's old-fashioned, or I don't know how you want to say it. But I mean, F1 do a great job, but other series maybe don't. And I think with esports, like whether it be the Motorsport Games or F1 Esports or Le Mans Virtual Series, there's a younger demographic watching that watch it and go, this is really cool, and then they end up trying to look for the real life counterpart, and eventually you get more younger people watching real life motorsport. I think that's the thought process behind it. So yeah, I think it's important, especially in this day and age. I think as time goes on, it'll be more and more important.
I think that makes sense, because even you think about like, let's say to go back to F1, like what Drive to Survive did was they brought in a younger audience. They made it more appealing. They made a show of it. And now you look at the viewership, it's through the roof. So for competitions like that, it would get people into like, hey, there's a game to it. There's an esports. There's a professional career to it.
There's a path.
There's a progression path to it.
Yeah. Are you excited for the Le Mans game?
Very. Honestly, like we as a team as well, Mercedes-AMG Petronas Esports team, we're like, that's our bread and butter. Like an endurance series, different multi-class racing, you know, hypercar, LMP2, GTs. Mate, I just hope it's really good. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
When's it out? It's like February.
Feb 22nd?
Yeah, end of next month. Yeah.
Who's counting?
Okay.
Yeah.
You have the time and all that.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Q1, your thoughts? Purple, gold?
We'll go gold. We'll go green. We'll go green.
Green set.
Yeah,
Room to improve. Okay.
We're going in
Yeah,
Q2.
yeah.
We're going to feel great. Q2 coming up very shortly.
Hey guys, we're going to interrupt that episode real quick to talk about one of our favorite sponsors.
Prize Picks.
PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users.
And there's 2 of us right here, and we should tell them how we play.
Yeah. So all you need to do is pick more or less 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in.
Yeah, and what's better is you can win up to 100 times your money with as low as 4 correct picks.
Oh, wow. PrizePicks put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes.
Yep. And just last week, I had Josh Allen for the American football going for more than 200 yards and Derrick Henry with more than 100 rushing yards. And I got that correct.
And guys, we got a great offer for all our listeners out there. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code TRACKLIMITS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code TRACKLIMITS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
Sign up now.
Welcome back to the Track Limits podcast. We're here with James Baldwin. James, Q1, you went through. Congrats.
Thank you.
Flying pace.
Flying pace.
Yeah.
World's fastest gamer pace. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Hey,
We were
exactly,
just
yeah.
talking during the break. They don't do that anymore. So you're technically the one and only world's fastest gamer now.
They've seen his talent and we're like, why do this again to someone else when they're never going to meet that threshold?
definitely, yeah.
Done.
That's exactly the reason.
End
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No,
That's
good.
great. Walk us through when you were a kid. Like, what were your hobbies? What were your interests? Was racing always something that you were quite interested in? Did you always see that as a career path?
Yeah, so I first memories of watching Formula One when I was like 4 years old. I remember Montoya overtaking Schumacher at Turn 1 at Brazil. I just remember, I don't know why it sticks, but that was like the point where I was like, this is so cool. And I just watched F1 for years and years and years. First went karting when I was 8. I knew immediately that was sort of the thing I was meant to do because like I played football, tried to play golf, whatever. Nothing felt natural, but driving did feel natural. So yeah, from that moment onwards, really, my dad just took me every week for like 4 years in an indoor kart track in Aylesbury. Slowly but surely moved to outdoor karting, was a bit more expensive. And then, yeah, ran out of money eventually. But it gave me a good foundational set of skills for when I did get into sim racing, which was meant to be a casual thing. You know, I was bored after work. But it gave me, you know, the ability to overtake or racing lines. And it just gave me a shortcut to get quick on sim racing quicker. Whereas a lot of guys don't have the privilege of going karting and they just get in from, they have it's a blank canvas. So, yeah.
Nice.
Did those early days of karting, like I know you touched on it there, it helped you with the sim racing. Did that then also help you when you got the opportunity to get into, was it Jensen Button's team you had the opportunity to drive for?
Yeah.
So after when it was fast gamer, the real life GT drive was in British GT with Jensen Button's new GT team in the McLaren. And I guess it did help because I'd done real racing before. I knew what speed felt like. I knew what it was like to get thrown around in a kart, which is sort of the same thing as a GT car. And yeah, but I think honestly, if I'd just gone from karting to the GT3, I would have been average. But if what I did do was go from the sim to the GT car, and I was above average. Like I was good. So I think the sim taught me a lot about accuracy, consistency, just those unlimited amount of laps you do on a sim. You just learn so much more. So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what like would the hardest transition be? Is it like the noise of the car? Because sometimes even when you're doing like, let's say you set a course, you can hear the rattles, but then you actually see a driver POV of like racing one of those cars, and the noise is insane. Like you must be a little bit rattled as well, coming from a quiet background and then going into like, okay,
on the sim you got a cup of tea there,
and
like,
nice
and comfortable. Yeah, that's the main thing really. I mean, I think it's 95% transferable, the skills you use and that, but the physicality, the heat, the smells, the sound, the brutality of it, like sometimes when the mechanic will do your seatbelt up or something, it can trap like that area down there, which is quite painful. So like stuff like that. You
don't even think about that. Like.
No.
Yeah, stuff like that. You just, I mean, I think some people can just deal with that and just get on with it anyway. I think that's the key. If you sit there and if something's not perfect and you just sit there and moan, and that's when you're not gonna. You
got to compartmentalize and just be like focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, be very efficient with what you're thinking and yeah.
And then,
like
you know, the whole movie Gran Turismo, by the way, that story, quite similar to your story.
Mate, it's identical. Like, and I mean, so in the sense that obviously Jan Mardenborough did that quite a few years ago now. He was sort of the pioneer in that space to go from sim to real. And in World's Fastest Gamer and my transition, it was exactly the same people involved that made it happen. So the people that organised it, the people that, my mechanics on the car, my driver coaches, the team principal were all the same people that Jan used back in 2013 or whenever it was. So I lived the Gran Turismo movie pretty much only like 4 years ago. So that when I saw the movie, and it's crazy, really.
Must have been giving you goosebumps looking back in that, because you were in that position. You had.
Yeah, and my career's taken a slightly different path to say Jan's, but I remember one of the guys who was organising it after my British GT season said, "Look, we've had a few prodigies. It wasn't just me and Jan, but he said, from a competitive point of view and on a sporting level, you and Jan are sort of on your own level." So I took that as like a
big compliment.
I was really, I'll remember that for a long time. Yeah.
And then on that subject, like for 2024, like how are you presenting yourself to teams? How are you trying to, like, you want to get a real life seat? What's your strategy? And like for sponsors, what can you offer them? Like what's the goal?
The goal, since I started real racing in 2020, what is basically, I'm dreaming big, is to win the Le Mans 24 hour.
Let's go.
So how I make that happen? Every manufacturer in racing has what they call factory drivers, where they don't have to bring money anymore. They actually get paid by the manufacturer to race for them because they're proven quick, consistent, reliable, and they want them driving their cars. So I want to be one of those, because when you're one of those, you have a very strong chance of winning races like Le Mans. But to be one of those drivers, you have to prove you're good enough. And you're not going to be able to do that unless you're on a grid. So I need, like, in my eyes, like a season or two on a grid to prove that I'm of that level. And that's where the partners come in to fund that particular journey.
And sorry, when you say grid, what classification are we talking about?
So it's stuff like GT World Challenge, IMSA, World Endurance Championship. Like, obviously F1 it's gone, unless you're a teenager with a lot of money, you're never going to get there. But everything underneath that really is possible. So it's just the financial side of it that's, for me at the minute, getting in the way. I completely understand it. 3 years ago, when I sort of stopped racing after British GT, I didn't really understand it that well. So I was maybe a little bit like negative about everything. But I get it. It's really expensive to go racing. Everyone knows that. It's just, how do you try and make it work for you? So, yeah.
And what can motorsport do, in your opinion, to make the space more affordable for people? Because it just seems like there's so many talented drivers that kind of hit a ceiling because of financial barriers.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like a cliche now, isn't it? Like, great driver, doesn't have money, can't race anymore. I don't know. I mean, the long and short of it is that it's really expensive to go racing. Like, building a car, putting it on a track, racing it, damage and stuff. There's no two ways about it. It's going to be expensive. So I think that is it. That's the reality. It's just about, as an individual, what can you do to be interesting enough and good enough to get yourself on that grid if you don't come from wealth. And that's my challenge at the minute, is how can I carve out that story or make it appealing for someone to go, let's give him a shot.
Yep.
But all I can do is try and find those people that can help, but also, stay fit, stay under 80 kilos, be on top of my driving skills as well on the sim. If I didn't compete in esports at all, and I was like having 2-year periods out of a car, I'd be absolutely trash when I go back in a car. But because I'm competing in esports, my skill level is maintained up here. Just so when I know I jump in a car, I'm pretty confident that I can be at that level I was before. So that's what I like, is that esports is keeping me fresh to hopefully do well in real racing later on in my career.
And you never know when that opportunity comes knocking.
It could be tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of industry. So,
but it's good that, like, you're ready, you're keen, the passion is there for it. And then you signed with Mercedes in the esports team, so you're already performing at a high level here. What's been the most memorable moment so far within the team?
We won the 6 hours of Le Mans Virtual Series 2022 as a team. That was really good. So I was 2 corners away from winning the first ever ESLR 1 championship on Rensport until I got involved in an accident, and then I finished 3rd in the end. But
I think I've seen a clip of that.
2 corners away. So that was really cool. There's been some cool moments, definitely. I've been with them just over a year. Before that, I was with Veloce for like 5 years, and they were the sort of first big team I was with. So it's been some journey. Yeah, I mean, 5-6 years. I've been professional since 2019. 2018, I was doing it sort of still as a hobby, and then 2019, I got my first paid contract come through, and I was like, literally the next day, walked into work, and I was like, Pete, I'm leaving, mate. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, gaming, and he was like, huh?
Probably couldn't understand it at all.
Exactly. So yeah.
That's class.
And have the other drivers in the program helped? Like, I know obviously they do different games and they're kind of different skills, but like obviously to have someone like even Jarno on the Mercedes Esports team, who also has a background in real racing going into sim racing, has that been pretty helpful for you as well?
Yeah, Mercedes has a very different approach than most teams. They like a smaller group of drivers, but ones that they like deem as like world class. So like Jarno, Bono, Jake's a up and coming driver at the minute. You know, a very small group, but they've all won loads of stuff. Like Jarno, obviously F1 Esports champion. Bono won the Vegas E-Race, won $250,000 back in 2018. So like, I'm really honoured to be given that invite and in that team. I think they're trying to build something for the long term, where they want that small group that can just go on any game at any given point and just win whatever it is. So it's going to take a while, because that's something like that. You know, there's such fierce competition out there from different teams like Porsche or you know, Ferrari have got an esports team, Red Bull, Redline, McLaren.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I'm just happy to be part of that journey, and hopefully we can win a lot of stuff.
Amazing.
Great. Well, hey, final question. How would you describe the surreal experience of overtaking Max Verstappen in a virtual series, Le Mans?
Crazy, man. Yeah. It was Sebring, and I was the last guy in the car, and there was like 2 hours left, and there was a 20-second gap to Verstappen for third. And I remember joining the track. I got 20 seconds, 2 hours. Never thought I'd catch him, because he's rapid on a sim as well.
Quick,
yeah. And there was like 20 minutes to go, and I was on him, and I was like, oh my God, this might be on it, you know? And he caught a back marker in the final corner at a really bad point. Did a switch back into turn one, got the move done. Yeah, it was mega, man.
Yeah, that's class.
Yeah,
it's not often you could say, yeah, you overtook Max Verstappen.
Yeah. I've raced him in virtual Le Mans a couple of years in a row as well, because they always let the real drivers start the race. Okay. So usually it was me and him at the front, like I was chasing him down, or we had a couple of like wheel-to-wheel battles and stuff. It's crazy when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah. And a 24-hour race, you guys are guessing you're going probably to sleep for a little bit. It's like real Le Mans in a way of like you're trying to maybe only sleep 3-4 hours, get back up, get back into the sim.
Yeah.
Pretty similar?
Yeah, so we usually, I've done it with 3 people before, and that's brutal. But usually it's like 4 or 5. You do like 2-hour stints at a time, have a break, like 5 or 6 hours off, come back to it. They're tough, because real or on the sim, you know, trying to get a car around a track for 24 hours without binning it or crashing it is it's tough.
We wouldn't last 2 laps, lads. 2 laps.
Yeah.
If you were right beside me.
But also, like, there's pressure as well, because, like, let's just say you were challenging Max. The last thing you want to do is,
knock him out.
Take him out. And then you also don't want to disappoint.
And be that guy,
and be that guy. But you also don't want to disappoint your team that have slugged away for their hours. You know what I mean? So, like, there's a lot of play, like, when you think about it.
Yeah, it's a different mindset, like the endurance, because I've done F1 Esports as well. That mindset versus endurance mindset is just polar opposite. Like in F1 Esports or ESLR1, it's, you know, balls to the wall, send it, like don't leave any inch, ram people off.
It's just elbows out, aggression.
Yeah, if you're not aggressive enough, you'll just get eaten alive. It's just like fight fire with fire. Whereas in endurance racing, if I get overtaken or if I lose 5 seconds trying to get past a back marker, it's fine, because it's 24 hours. Like, if I go for a move and I get like a 30-second penalty, that's when it starts to be a bit detrimental to your race. So
blitzing into the pit stops, being like, oh, damn.
You only find that stuff out the hard way. Unfortunately, when I first got into endurance stuff, I just took people out, and I was like getting penalties and stuff. So yeah,
you came from that F1 Esports mentality,
literally, right? Like, why are people not driving here? What are they doing? Q2.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I think purple, right?
Let's go purple. Let's go purple.
All right.
Thanks,
going
guys.
into Q3 very shortly with James Baldwin.
Okay. Sorry, we're interrupting this episode, but we have to have a chat. It's almost
Serious
the holidays. We really need to get our fitness in check, because, you know, the holidays would be eaten. So having used Tonal the last couple of months, I do think that this is the time we should do like a bit of a challenge.
I love it.
I've been loving our Tonal. So actually, you tell them why we love our Tonal.
Genuinely, the reason I love Tonal is because it's powered by AI. So it personalizes the workouts to you. It takes the thinking out of it. I can come home from a long day, just go down. I already know my reps. It's telling me to do everything.
Yeah. And it's also the fact that we don't have to, if like traditional gyms, you have to wait for someone, or maybe if you're working, folks like us, the typical times that you go, it's absolutely so busy that you may not even get the proper workout. Like if I just want to do chest one day, or you just want to do legs, all the machines might be taken. With Tonal, it's at home, it adjusts, it is adaptive, it is actually game changer.
It's a personal trainer at home.
Guys, you need to get this. So for our listeners, we do have a very, very special offer. Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off for your Tonal purchase with a promo code TRACKLIMITS. That's tonal.com, and use promo code TRACKLIMITS for $200 off your purchase. That's tonal.com, promo code TRACKLIMITS for $200 off.
That's a great deal.
Let's get in shape.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Track Limits podcast with James Baldwin. James, we are now getting into the rapid fire round.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fire and spicy.
Yep. Okay. We're going to nail these questions out, and we'd love your answers to be rapid, full of fire. Ready?
Ready.
All right. First question. Which one out of the bigger social media platforms would you delete forever?
Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Don't use it.
I don't think Mikey even knows what it is. No.
I got an invite from you boys, and I got in trouble because I didn't download it in time. And I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I can barely keep up with Instagram, so I'm good. What piece of racing memorabilia would you like to own, or do you currently own?
It's a bit of a story.
Okay, let's go.
When I was 10, me and my dad went to Brackley, where it was the Honda F1 factory at the time, and they had like a sim competition in 2008. Really basic sims, right? And the winning time won a signed Jensen Button race worn suit.
Wow.
Right? And he was there, Barrichello was there.
Yeah.
I remember it as a kid, and I won it, and I had it. And in 2020, when I raced for Jensen's GT3 team, I was like, I should take it to the circuit and show him. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
And I lost it. I couldn't find it. In the house moves and stuff, I lost it. So if I was to have one bit of memorabilia, it'd be that. I'll try and find that again.
Damn.
We got to shout out Jensen. He needs to re-sign that.
Yeah, I was gutted when I lost that.
Oh, man.
Greatest sim racer in your opinion of all time? You can say yourself.
I'll back myself on that.
Yeah.
I do. There's some crazy aliens out there, man. Like, but I'm gonna back myself because I should.
Yeah.
Fair play, lad. Favorite sim racing platform? Like, let's say iRacing, R Factor. You have the F1 game. You have Assetto Corsa. What's your favorite?
Assetto Corsa Competizione, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your second then? If you're too tired of Assetto, what's your next step?
Probably R Factor 2.
Okay.
Okay.
If you had to choose another sport to be a professional in, what sport would you be?
So I've been through phases. Football when I was a kid, but now actually it's probably away from motorsport. It's really boxing.
Oh,
wow.
I love watching it. I love training and stuff. My only problem is if I was to be a boxer is I hate pain. So like if I got punched, I wouldn't deal with it very well. So but I love the sport though. It's cool.
All right.
Most unpopular opinion you have?
I don't know if it's unpopular, but it's a hot take probably. I'd say any top sim racer would be a top racing driver. And when I say top, I mean like the top 5 or 10 sim drivers, I think could definitely, given the right preparation opportunity, training, be an F1.
There should be a competition where like you have, this is going to be a hot take, the worst out of a certain category, the lowest 5 drivers have to go against the 5 sim racers, and those drivers can lose their seats if the sim racers beat them.
Imagine that.
The sponsors would be like, oh, let's go in on this.
That
Like
would be
the
cool.
Hunger Games, but for
Literally.
what regulation change would you institute in esports? Like what sort of rule or regulation would you change that?
Just like having like a structure to it. So like a footballer, top level footballer knows what he's going to go and do next year, right? Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, whatever. A sim racer at the minute, if you're a top sim racer, you don't really know what you're going to do next because some series happen once, some series might not happen next year. There's no structure to it. And I think if there's no structure to it, it's hard for people to follow it because one minute I'm doing Le Mans Virtual Series, next minute that's not happening, and I'm doing this thing called ESLR1. And it's like, as a viewer, how do you follow that? So Yeah, I just like a bit more of a structure would be nice.
Even with that structure as well, you can train then for the certain platforms because you even said yourself they're all different.
Exactly, yeah.
Best prediction for the 2024 season in your eyes?
F1.
Yes.
Best as in like...
Where do you see it? Who's going to be constructors, drivers? Like, what do you think is going to happen for this season?
I think it's going to be exactly the same in 2023. Yeah. Verstappen win, Red Bull win, you know, Norris will be up there, Hamilton will be up there.
I think it'll be a little bit closer this year, but I do believe Red Bull up top.
Yeah, I think Perez might have a tougher time because, as you say, it's closer.
I don't know if Red Bull will have constructors. I'm hoping it'll be a little... I don't know.
Do you not think Max will win the constructors on his own again?
I don't think it'll be as clear cut this year.
No? I don't know, man.
Maybe I'm in fairy tale land. I don't know. But I'm hoping...
Listen, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
For the sake of the sport, I hope you're right.
For the sake of the sport. For the sake of the sport.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. If you were stuck in an elevator for 24 hours with Jarno Opmeer, what would you do?
What would I do? Try and find a way out. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Probably be chill.
Okay.
He's a pretty chill guy.
Yeah.
He'd probably stream.
Yeah.
So
An
I'd
elevator
probably be doing that
stream?
for a bit.
Well, that'd be great.
You'll have no coverage though. You can't.
Yeah.
Elevators, you got no cell coverage.
You imagine the guy comes to fix the elevator and you're like, no. Like,
I'll tell you what, it'd be some
raging.
video, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be
yeah.
video. You get
Yeah.
views for that.
Stuck in an elevator. I know what I mean.
Next one. Most embarrassing moment you've had at a race weekend. So this could be virtual or this could be back in your karting days or your GT days. Like, what was the most embarrassing moment you had?
British GT, Donington, Friday practice. I was doing some laps and I approached the chicane and I got really close to it and I heard the car skim it. And I was like, damn, yeah, that was good. I left nothing on the table there. And then in the next straight, I looked left for my wing mirror and it was gone. Right? And I was like, shit. So I didn't say anything on the radio because I didn't want it to get found out.
Yeah.
So it's just stupid. I should have just told the team straight away. I came back into the box, like nothing happened, got out of the car, didn't tell anyone, and the chief mechanic comes over and he goes, you know, we've seen you knock the wing mirror off. Don't try and hide it. And I was like, oh, damn. And he was like, go and tell Bob, the team manager, go and tell him now, you won't get in trouble. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I found out it was like $4,000
Oh,
for one wing mirror.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I can see why you didn't tell him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you could have one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Really like a nice fillet steak.
Oh, okay.
Rare.
I'm getting hungry.
Good lad. Favorite guilty pleasure TV show?
There's a show on at the minute called The Traitors.
Raiders.
Oh.
It's like a game show. It's actually really good. Probably that.
What's it about?
It's like you get like all these people that live in a house for like 2 weeks.
I know.
And you get faithfuls and traitors.
Yeah.
And it's just really good. If you haven't watched it, it's really good.
Yeah, if Evan watches, he's trying to get me into it. It's good.
The Traitors?
Yeah.
All right. You're writing an autobiography on your life. Which of these titles best resonates with you? And we're not going to include the world's fastest gamer, but it probably would be that. The Daredevil, the Dream Catcher, the Free Spirit, or the Hardest Worker?
The hardest worker. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is a wrap
Yeah.
on Q3. Final question for you, James. What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done? I know it's a deep question, but if you had to summarize right now where you are in life, where you want to go, what sort of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Probably like I just want to be. I don't really care that much about being remembered or whatever because it doesn't really matter. But if I was to give an answer, it'd probably be seen as one of the best sim racing drivers in the world, and then one of the best actual racing drivers in the world. At the end, when it's all said and done, if I had those two things, happy days.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Thanks so much for coming on,
Yeah, I
James.
really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, we're going to put James' socials right over here below. Go and give him a follow. Very inspiring person, an individual breaking really like a lot of barriers, not only in sim racing, but real racing. Definitely support him. And if you enjoy this episode, like, share, subscribe. Go follow Mikey. Don't follow me. And we'll
I've
see
no
you guys.
following. I need help.
We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks all.